Hello and welcome to Mike's Garage. Let's start by saying if you're enjoying our videos, by all means, if you haven't yet, please subscribe. When you do, by all means, please click on the little notification bell so you'll be notified every time we put up a new video. You know, I get asked, I get a whole bunch of comments and I try to answer them all. People write in and say, you know, you don't have to answer them all. I realize that. At some point, maybe I won't, but right now I try. And I guess it's because I really appreciate everyone writing in and things like that. Well, I get requests for things that I've forgotten to show. One of them is, you know, I've rebuilt some Shovelhead motor stuff, a lot of Shovelhead motor stuff, and I haven't showed installing a pair of cylinders, which I thought was kind of strange. I did show installing the head, so we're not going to show that. We're just going to show installing the cylinders. This is my old Shovelhead road bike, and I've got the pistons all prepared and the cylinders all prepared, and we're just going to put them on. So let's get started. Here is a piston with a wrist pin in it. So what we're going to do, I've already put one snap ring in this side, and I'm going to need to put one in this side after it's installed. So there goes that wrist pin. And of course I can't pull it all the way in. So what I'm going to do is go to the other side and use my wrist pin installer. And here it is. Imagine that, it was already here waiting for me. And it's really funny because this is a left-hand thread and I always screw it up. Forget. Anyway. So. We'll get that little piece on the tool. This tool is an old tool. I really need a new one. I've modified this for things other than Shovelhead pistons. But that's what you do when you're like me and you need something in the middle of the night. Okay, so what I'm doing is pulling that wrist pin into place. And it's almost there. And then we'll talk about this some more. Okay, it's there. It's in all the way. And so this is a wrist pin remover and installer. They aren't horribly expensive. I do need to replace this one because, like I said, I modified it to work on an engine other than a Shovelhead. I'm not even sure what it was. Again, one of those things you're doing in the middle of the night. Okay. And that's off. So now we'll go back over to the other side of the engine and see about installing that snap ring. Get this tool out of the way. And we'll get that snap ring in there. Now, I have, get one of these things. When installing a snap ring on a wrist pin, the big deal is, if you drop it and it goes into the engine, you're not going to be happy because you'll need to get it out of there. And if you're real lucky, you'll get it out with a magnet. If you're not real lucky, you won't. So I borrowed this tool. I really am spoiled to have a tool like this to use. This is a rather expensive tool for installing wrist pin snap rings. Now let's see, get my flashlight and look in there, make sure that that's installed all the way around. But if you've ever fought with these snap rings, you understand what a cool thing that tool was just now. That was really, really nice. I understand a lot of companies make them. This one doesn't have a brand on it. I'm sure everybody will call in and say, or write in and say who made it. But I think this tool is about $150, which is probably why I borrowed one. All right, now let's talk for a moment about the piston rings. I've showed how to install them before on our videos, and you know, they're already, all the end gaps have already been set. I've set them all. It's all done and ready to go. And so I put the piston rings on the piston, which, like I said, I've done on videos in the past. So I didn't want to be too repetitious. What I do, and I've been asked this question repeatedly, I get asked the question as to which direction the piston goes in because there's an arrow on the top of it and I know it points forward. Well, what it really does normally is it points toward the intake valve. Now, if you look at the top of this piston, it's a little hard to tell without squinting a bit, but this pocket is wider than this pocket. That's because shovelhead intake valves are bigger than shovelhead exhaust valves. So we know that this goes where the intake valve goes. Just like this one is on this side where the intake valve goes when the cylinder heads are in place. I hope I said that clearly. That should answer some questions. Another thing I do is and I think I mentioned this once before, as far as the location of the end gaps of the piston rings, I always refer to, and let me get away from it for a moment here, the Evolution Harley book. This is a Harley Davidson service manual. This is an Evolution Harley Davidson service manual. When the Evolution motor came out in 1984, they gave us this diagram for how to install the piston ring end gaps. I thought it was such a good idea and done so well, instead of just putting them 120 degrees apart or 90 degrees apart, I wanted to know exactly where they thought was the best place to put them. And I thought their reasoning was perfect, and I've been doing engines like that ever since, which is why I have it out here. I don't try to memorize this stuff anymore. Okay, are we done? I think we got all that in there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I've already lubed up the cylinder wall, which will bring up some questions. All I do is oil them lightly. And the pistons, same thing, little oil on them, maybe a little on the rings, not much. Basically what you're concerned about is the skirts of the piston. Now you always want to be sure and do what I did there with a flashlight, if you need one, which I do, to make sure that the wrist pin keeper is in place where you want it, snapped in all the way. There is nothing worse than finding out you have a loose wrist pin keeper. All right, so now I have a piston ring installer, and it's a nice old one I've had for about 150 years, maybe more. And if I seem like I'm a little bit all thumbs, I'm afraid I'm having some difficulties with my hands. Something about them being old mechanics' hands. So what we want to do is get that ring compressor on there. And you see, I want to make sure that I know where it's going here. I'm going to check one more time, make sure I got that gap where I wanted it, because I'm afraid I moved it a little bit. Let's get that off of there. Okay, there it is. It's where I want it. Oh yes, there it is. By all means, let's say, there it is. All right. Put this ring compressor on here and pay real attention to where the handle is, because that's what I got a key off of to know that I haven't lost my position with those end gaps. Now, if you look real careful here, you can see that I've got that ring compressor slid down just a little bit. Now, if I don't go exactly straight and that ring compressor slips and I come off of those rings, yeah, I'll be irritated, but it's not that big a deal. You just do it again. There, that looks like it's about right. Now, this here goes in the center toward the other cylinder. Like I said, my hands are kind of all thumbs right now, so please don't giggle at me. There we go. That's pretty wonderful. And I only slightly smashed my hand, which is also not bad. Now, the other thing to remember on a shovel head is if you have 80-inch shovel head cylinders, which these are. This is a 77 shovel head, but these are later cylinders. There's one more thing we're going to have to show on this side, Mike. As I get the cylinder slid down into place. And there it is, and I'm going to pull it up again just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to ask you to come around here, if you would, please, so that I can show both this cylinder head bolt and this one have to be put in before these cylinders are completely down. Once they're completely down, it's pretty difficult. To get those bolts back in there. So here we are with both cylinders on, both pistons in, and you'll have to pardon me if that makes me happy, but yeah, that makes me happy. I'm going to get my road bike going again. If I get my road bike going again real soon, maybe I can get my sidecar mounts made and take my dog on a trip and say, okay, Sonia, the pandemic is over. Let's go for a ride, kid. So there it is. I'm going to put the other two nuts on here, and I don't think I need to demonstrate how to use a torque wrench. What I'm going to do is go around a couple, 3 times until these are all torqued to 45 pounds. So I'll be doing those, and I'll get the cylinder heads on this thing soon. We already showed doing the rocker arms and all of that stuff. So when I put the cylinder heads on, which I've shown before, I'm going to get them aligned well with the intake manifold. So maybe we'll do a video on mounting the intake manifold. This one uses O-rings, which Harley did right up through, I think, about 1978 before they went to the rubber band types. So we'll show how to mount the intake manifold. In this particular case, it is an SU manifold. So that's what we're going to do. And we'll be doing that soon. We've got more videos coming. And until then, see you out on the road.